I'm a player, 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 oh, 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 I'm a player. If you see me looking clean cut, matching from head to toe, dipping with a mean strut.
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of Ghettofabulous Kings of War. I know it's been a while, moved, got a different job, life and all that crap, but here you go. I wanted to get back into it, and it's early, it's even before the New Year, so it's not even a New Year's resolution thing. 2200 point battle, kill and pillage, my Night-Stalkers versus some Elves. I hate Elves. Here is the army list. As you can see, the Green Lady, Standard Bearer with Healing Charm, 2 Wizards, Argus Rodner, apparently some character who can't move and just gives Inspiring to 1 unit a turn somewhere on the board, Tree Herder, couple regiments of Draken Riders, a horde of Draken Riders, horde of Sea Guard, and 2 regiments of Archers, one of the regular Archers and one of the Glade Stalkers. I put some of the magic items there. He may have had a couple others that I didn't get included. And here is my army list for Night-Stalkers. 3 regiments of Fiends, 3 hordes of Fiends, because I love Fiends so much. A Legion of Bloodworms with the Potion of Strength, which I don't love as much, but they're fun to throw in every once in a while. 3 Shadow Hulks, and 2 Planar Apparitions. So, pre-game, looking at the army lists and the scenario in general, my thought is I can win a brawl. If I just go in and we just start punching and trading, I will win a knockout, drag-out fight, which is not always the case with my guys because they're kind of squishy. However, he does have more mobility, considering he has 3 flying units plus the Green Lady flies as well. He has some good flying support. He can annihilate units either with flank attacks, so they hit pretty hard, or combo charges, which means, point 3, stalling, delaying, trying to set up perfect stuff, and positioning is not going to work very well for me. He's got shooting too, which I don't, but even though it's limited shooting, it'll still whittle away at me. But bottom line, number 4 there, I just need to advance, stay close together, tight little group, trade units with him, and whittle him down. I need to make sure my units as they advance can mutually support each other, so if one unit gets charged and destroyed, other units can come in and counterattack. If I have any units that are isolated and separated, that will be ideal for him to use his mobility, destroy them quickly, and not face any retaliation, which I can't have. Here is the table. This battle report will be mostly a hybrid of PowerPoint and Battle Scribe, but I just will at least include one photo so you can see what it looks like, what the table will look like, and say, yes, indeed, I actually played a game. You just gotta trust me on this one. And here's what you'll be seeing for the rest of this battle report. My Ghettofabulous attempt to recreate the board. And the objectives, 6 of them. So there you go. Kind of spread out everywhere. And deployment. I forgot to get pictures of his units like I do with mine. So you'll see little pictures of my guys and icons for his units. In general, like you can see, I got it pretty well tight with me and with my army, and he's spread out a little bit more, I assume, to try to use his mobility to get around my flanks. And just a quick little vanguard move up for his units into the woods to capture that objective. So, game plan, at least from the beginning, after seeing deployment and everything. On the right flank, my biggest concern is that little regiment of Draken Riders. It's not a huge threat, but again, I can't afford to ignore it. I don't want it to get into my rear or attack my flank, so I have to deal with it somehow. I can, if I'm lucky, maybe he'll just charge in at me, and I can charge him back, and with my right flank I get plenty of strength to kill it. That's probably the least likely course of action, but hey, if he'll bite on some bait, that'll be great. That regiment, my horde of fiends can probably destroy the little regiment of Draken Riders, so if I move forward and, again, we just go one-on-one, that fiend horde will take him out and then work on the flank. Or what I think is probably most likely, at least for a little while, my horde of fiends will move up and just there'll be a stalemate. And if there's a stalemate and the rest of my army can move down the rest of his line, that'll work too. I'll be happy with that. So I'm assuming that's most likely what will happen. And the rest of it deals with the center. First thing that jumps off at me, and it says cater on those guys. It's a caterpillar, but I couldn't fit the whole caterpillar word in there. So I've got the caterpillar fiends there, and he's got his Glade-Stalkers there. They're only defense 3. My fiends have crushing 1 and vicious. 24 attacks, hitting on 4s. So I have a good chance. I'm thinking I can do 11 or 12 wounds on those guys with a charge. So that's a natural matchup I'm going to set up and try to wipe them out, just hopefully with one lucky charge if I get it set up right. The bigger concern, however, is anything I do on the center, that horde of Draken Riders on my left is going to try to capitalize on. So really, he's got the Sea Guard horde and then a couple regiments. I'm not so in the Tree Herder, who, I mean, he hits hard with crushing 3 or whatever, but it's not a lot of attacks, not a lot of wounds he's putting out. So I'm not worried so much about the units in the middle. I can crush them. I'm more worried about the horde on the left. With him, hopefully I can bait him forward, get him to attack a horde of fiends, and then you can see I've got the Shadow Hulk there kind of screened by the woods. Maybe he can get a flank charge off or tie them up for a turn or two. Whatever I do, the general game plan is going to be to have the center roll up and kind of wheel to the left and take things out in order and not expose the flank. Use the wood line to shield us. I get the choice, I believe, for first turn, and I took it. A lot of times on objective missions I try to defer and go second, but this one I didn't want to get boxed in, so I took it to get a little more space and mobility. I got to get in close, like I said, not stalling. So not a lot going on, just move up and set things up. On the Elves' turn, very similar. Not a whole lot, although you can see on my right, his Drakon regiment did something I didn't expect at all, which is just relocate towards the center, which is fine. That in many ways fits into my brawl hope of just trading units. So instead of flanking, if he's going to go into the middle, that's fine. He wanted to try to fly over me, but the way I had positioned and moved, he couldn't quite clear my horde of fiends, so he was kind of stuck. He does do 6 wounds with his shooting on my horde of fiends on the left there, and 1 on the regiment of fiends. Top of 2, I do get that charge off and wipe out the Glade-Stalkers that are in the woods there. I also charged a couple other places, even though I knew they were going to die, just to get the party started on trading units. So you can see the regiment with 1 wound charged his wizard and did 4 wounds actually. It's pretty good. And on the right, another regiment charged the Tree Herder. And actually, I forgot. I rolled everything else, but for whatever reason, I didn't roll and actually attack it. I think I forgot to. So no wounds done. The odds of doing wounds to it was pretty slim anyway. And I wasn't all that concerned about hitting him. I just wanted to tie him up, and really I wanted to get the Draken Riders to commit. You can see right behind him I've got the 2 Shadow Hulks and another regiment of fiends, so I've got a lot of stuff ready to go. And on the left we're trying to set up whatever I can to get the Draken Riders to commit. And I've healed 4 wounds off the horde of fiends, so the planar apparitions are doing their work. Turn 2 for the Elves. You can see on the left, both units of Draken Riders have charged, so he's trying to tie up my Shadow Hulk to keep from destroying his horde. We'll see how that goes. The Sea Guard take the obvious flank and are going to wipe out that regiment of fiends, and the Draken Riders on the right hit the regiment of fiends in the flank as well, so they're probably going to go bye-bye. And yes, lots of killing. 3 units wiped out. I think that horde of Draken Riders may have the +1 strength potion or something, whatever it was. My guy only had defense 4. They rolled pretty well and just annihilated them. So a horde's gone. You can see my Shadow Hulk on the left took 6 wounds, which is quite a lot actually. It was more than I was expecting. And he recovers and sets up for the counterattack. Alright, so turn 3. Got a couple decisions to make. I've got matchups that I usually look forward. I play a lot of humans and stuff, and the Shadow Hulks are great at taking out regiments of knights or other kind of units that do well in the initial charge, but then they get tar pitted and can get whittled down. And now I've got Shadow Hulks lined up against 2 similar type units. They're going to can opener those regiments without any problem. So that's an excellent setup for me. And then on the left here, the idea is even if the Drakon Horde is supported by the Green Lady, so they'll survive a while, my Legion of Bloodworms is supported by at least 1 and maybe 2 planar apparitions. So if I can just keep that stalemate going for a while, eventually that Shadow Hulk is going to come through and hit the horde of Draken Riders in the flank, which is hopefully going to settle the issue. So you can see the Legion charge into the Draken Riders, the regiment with the horde of fiends with the Caterpillar potion. I had a couple choices. I could have charged a Tree Herder in the flank, and I thought about that a little bit, but realistically, the Tree Herder isn't going to kill the Shadow Hulk anytime soon. And again, I got a planar apparition there if I want to keep him alive. So if I can get the first charge off in the Sea Guard, that'll be a lot of wounds because they're not encumbered or hindered or anything. They've got the potion, so might as well hit them hard and start working on them. Charge the other regiment of Draken Riders and the Tree Herder with a Shadow Hulk. Not a bad setup, I don't think. And you can see it didn't kill anybody, but we did quite a bit of damage across the board, and we wavered the Draken Rider regiment on the right, which is great. It's going to let the Shadow Hulk just finish him off next turn. For the Elves, oh, and you can see it's a lot of healing too. Most of my units are down just to 1 wound or none, so excellent overall for me. For the Elves, not a lot of moving. It's pretty much all just counter-attacking. Nothing else needs to move. And they do a lot of wounds back. My Legion of Bloodworms there, you can see 13 wounds. That's a pretty powerful hit. His regiment on the left there only did a couple of wounds to my Shadow Hulk, which is not what he needed. You can see he did a lot of healing too. The Sea Guard with one of his wizards, the Drakon Horde got healed quite a bit. But it's hopefully not going to be enough. Turn 4. Most of my army does the same thing, just countercharges back. Got the horde of fiends and the regiment of fiends kind of relocating. I don't have anywhere to go right now. Just trying to open up more options. And then everything breaks on his side. The Legion rolls higher than average, and they don't do well in their break tests, so they're gone. Both regiments are gone, and the Sea Guard horde is destroyed. And when you take that off the board, there's nothing left anymore, really. So at that point, my opponent conceded, and victory for the Night-Stalkers. That was a pretty devastating round, and set up the victory for me. So, AR, thoughts on the battle. Overall, the army lists were a good matchup for me. He had not a lot, but he had some points spent on shooting, which is of limited effectiveness against me. And he didn't have a lot of magic or breath attacks, which are devastating against me. And he ended up taking quite a few expensive, a small number of expensive units, which I can swarm up on and trade with, so I can slug it out with them. I was able to bait. I mean, those regiments of fiends are like 130 points. They're not cheap throwaway units, but like with the Sea Guard, drawing them out, the Dracon Regiment, having them flank charge a regiment of fiends to kill them. Okay, that's not a unit I want to lose, but I was able to sacrifice a moderately priced unit so I could set up charges with better units and take out his more expensive ones. That, however, is kind of my weakness. I don't have any shooting. My speeds are very mixed, so I can't pressure and force the enemy to charge me in disadvantageous situations. I can entice them, I can make them, I can hope for them to make an error, as it boils down to. But like it says there, he could have waited, he could have flown around more. He was under no pressure to charge right away because he had mobility and I didn't have any shooting to pressure him, so I have to move up and get in range. And my army is not, with the Shadow Hulks and with the Bloodworm Legion, it's not fast. I typed this up earlier and said I only have 3 units in my army: the Fiends, the Planar Apparition, the Shadow Hulks. And I just mentioned now the Bloodworm Legion, which is kind of funny because I don't think of them so much. The army seems to be those 3 units as the backbone, and the Bloodworm Legion is kind of an option thrown in. I could have more Fiends or another Planar Apparition or something. The units are versatile. They're simple. Although the Planar Apparition especially is very versatile. It can do a lot of things. My next couple battle reports I'm starting to work on. I've painted up some, what are they called, specters, I think, the little shooting guys with fire bolts. So trying to get a little bit of shooting in just to encourage my enemies to put a little pressure on them to make a decision and attack. In general, I want to give the Shadow Hulks a special shout out. If you watch my previous battle reports, you know I was always kind of on the fence about them. They didn't seem to fit in, but over time they have proven themselves again and again. They carry a lot of weight with this army. My opponents always have a tough time killing them. They have to really focus on them. They can do a lot of damage or hold up units for quite a long time. And the fact that they have such a high nerve, -20, they just keep going. And they don't put out a huge number of wounds, but 9 attacks hitting on 3s, crushing 3. They are very consistent on putting out a moderate number of wounds on pretty much anything. And over time, especially again like in this battle, matching them up properly against the Tree Herder or the Dracon Regiment. The Horde would hurt them pretty badly, but regiments of things, they do great. And they're only, 170 points, I think. So, decent. The only problem is, in this army, not just the army list, but I mean specifically my army, they're the only thing that doesn't have stealth. So they get shot a lot. So you have to have support for them. Or if you're facing an enemy, he's not going to have any other choices. Gotta shoot something. Well, we'll shoot the thing with no penalty to hit, and then they just get shot. So be prepared for that. So there you go. Quick little report, but fun game. Went well for me, obviously, and hope you learned something from it. Thank you much.